Good afternoon, and welcome to a Friday for Future edition of the OBX Wave Report, where we, as surfers and amateur science and weather observers, do our best to promote the organizations that are paving the way for a better future, for a better tomorrow, for a sustainable world and a prosperous world, and a world that is enlightened with a sense of justice and morality such that we avoid catastrophe, harm, tragedy, terror, chaos, war, um, sadness, loss, harm. And today, for this Friday for Future episode, we are going to promote the Union of Concerned Scientists and all the good work that they do. And at the end of our promotion of the Union of Concerned Scientists, we're going to make a donation. We are going to put our money where our mouth is. And we're going to use our resources to promote justice in the world and science as a moral force in the world. And we're going to use our power as individuals, both in our voice and in our resources to become a part of that better future. But before we do, we're going to tell a story. Um, we're going to tell a story based in facts and truth and evidence and science about a thing that is very interesting that I learned about first from a scientist, Dr. Jennifer Francis, a thing called the polar vortex. And I alluded to this polar vortex thing in my recent videos on the issue of sea ice loss and the big chill that's happening right now in the Northeast. And I have, in my researches about the Union of Concerned Scientists, stumbled upon a journalist that I have just followed on the Twitters called Laura Paddison, who has written a very good article that I encourage you to read on the issue of the polar vortex. But before I get into like talking a little bit more about this article, I do want to talk about this image that Laura Pattison did post on her Twitter page. We're going to talk a little bit more about Twitter also as we talk about the Union of Concerned Scientists, because the Union of Concerned Scientists has some words about the use of Twitter, and I want to support what they're saying about that as well. But first, I want to talk about this image, and looking at this image, it appears rather innocuous at first. It's easy for your eye to slide by this image that Laura Pattison has posted on her Twitter page. Um, but what we see is the surf and some debris in the surf. And it's debris that is greatly minimized, is reduced. It's a remnant. It's a remnant of something that once was, but is now lost to the waves. And as we look closer, we see that this remnant is a house. It's a home. It's a safe place that once was, but is now no more, that has been taken by a powerful force of nature in this case unleashed by fossil fuel burning that has caused the oceans to rise. Um, so when I see this house, this remnant of this house, and we see houses like this and remnants like this across the Outer Banks as the seas have risen, um, so far moderately, but still there is loss as a result of that. I think about what our future could be, that we could take this loss, this tragedy clearly for some of our fellow human beings who once had a home here. Um, and we can take that as a warning and do the right things. This is evidence and fact, an observation of what's going on now in the Outer Banks and across the coastlines of the world. And a choice between this loss becoming commonplace, ubiquitous across the coasts, or this loss serving as a signal for us to change what we do and to prevent harm and loss and tragedy for our future. All right, so I want to talk about the polar vortex first. We're going to talk about the Union of Concerned Scientists, which is in fact promoting this article by Laura Pattison, which provides some information. So for those of you right now in the Northeast and on the East Coast like me that is experiencing this cold snap, this big cold snap with this Arctic air mass coming down from the north, there are climate influences on this cold snap, which have been brought to light by the likes of Jennifer Francis and other experts on the issue of how air masses move and respond to global warming. And one of the features of global warming is that it can blow a hole in the polar air mass up there in the north. And it can also do it in the south, so over the Arctic and the Antarctic. And the way in which this happens is you get these big old Rossby waves in the jet stream, and you get a lot of warm air moving up toward the north. And that transport of the warm air is facilitated by the heating, particularly in the Arctic, of the ocean system. And you get this hole, kind of like this hole in the heart of winter that scientists and weather observers call the polar vortex. And that hole in the heart of winter is filled with heat that moves from the south and it moves from the oceans. And it pushes the cold air out onto the continents. It pushes that cold air south, even as it fills the Arctic with heat. And this is my boiling down to simple terms of a very complex process observed by the science, hopefully as accurate as it can be. But what I encourage you to do is to read this article by Laura Pattison and learn about the science. Don't focus on the necessarily simplistic definitions that I'm using to communicate this issue. Inform yourself, make yourself more intelligent. Listen to the scientists and read the scientific journalism that is occurring right now, this groundbreaking scientific journalism by Laura. Extreme cold snaps, why temperatures still plummet to dangerous levels even as the planet warms. And to me, I think of this as a hole in the heart of winter. It's another warning, just like what we see on the coastline in the loss of homes. Slow now, but potentially speeding up if we don't act. but we can act. And one of the great reminders of just action on climate change and so many other issues, including nuclear proliferation and justice in the form of policy that fights hate and confronts it, that fights hate and ignorance, which often go hand in hand. Um, One of the agencies at the forefront of that good effort is the Union of Concerned Scientists, which, if we listen to them, and I'm going to deal with my winter nose here just one second. If we listen to them, we can have a better future. We can make science a force for justice and enlightenment and a better future. We can take the knowledge that we have and use it in a way that reduces harm and eliminates harm in many respects and is protective and helpful and just. So let's look first at what the Union of Concerned Scientists is talking about. I focused in on the polar vortex, but let's look at justice. Um, so the Union of Concerned Scientists is out here promoting justice for Black farmers, the Justice for Black Farmers Act in particular, which is legislation. Legislation has impact, and government is important, particularly government by the people for justice. And this is what the Union of Concerned Scientists does. It is a we the people, we the scientists organization for the empowerment of the people and for justice for the people. And so they're supporting the Justice for Black Farmers Act that would authorize the USDA to document discrimination against Black farmers and ranchers and take action to end the cycle of systemic disparities in how Black farmers and ranchers are treated. Um, Confronting systemic injustice and removing it through acts of legislation and also through resolve to remove our own internal hatred and prejudices is a part of the process of making a better future. And so the Union of Concerned Scientists is out there on point at the front of supporting such action. Right now, the Union of Concerned Scientists is confronting the powerful. And we have recently had a major disruption here on Twitter where a billionaire has purchased Twitter under the pretense of supposedly supporting free speech and instead has supported hate speech by re-platforming the most hateful and violent among us and those who are voices for violence, and by deplatforming the voices for justice and for science. And the Union of Concerned Scientists are speaking out against this, against Elon Musk for these actions that proliferate harm and injustice, suppress real free speech, the speech of we the people, and advance hate speech, which is not free speech, which is often the voice of the most harmful among the powerful to suppress and divide the people. And so the Union of Concerned Scientists is stating that Twitter announced that it will restrict access to its API, a key tool to analyze data from the site. The decision will likely price out academics and journalists looking into Twitter's practices and the spread of harmful content on the platform. So Union of Concerned Scientists is speaking out against the removal of an accountability feature within social media that allows the people to confront hate speech and the promotion of violence and fascism on social media, and extremism and various forms of political extremism. And this is a key check to the powerful, and I fully support the Union of Concerned Scientists in calling out Twitter under Elon Musk for disempowering the voices of free speech in the form of academics and journalists. Um, a little while back, I once said we don't have a media problem. Often the media is attacked um, by the powerful. What we have is a problem of billionaires, oligarchic billionaires, sitting on the media's ability to function as a free press. And this is an example of that. All right. The Union of Concerned Scientists is talking about combating conspiracy theories on immigration. A lot of hate has been drummed up against immigrants, hate and fear. This is a divisive topic. This is a wedge issue that extremists and oligarchic billionaires have used to attack democracy in the United States by inflaming xenophobia and fear, using it as a weapon. The Union of Concerned Scientists is promoting combating conspiracy theories on immigrations and providing tips from United We Dream, a youth-led organization working on and tackling disinformation around immigration. And Union of Concerned Scientists is on point when it comes to nuclear safety and non-proliferation, one of the major organizations that confronts these issues. One of the major organizations helping to prevent terrible consequences from the use of powerful weapons or um, the misuse of or irresponsible use of nuclear technology. All right, Union of Concerned Scientists is right out there calling out fossil fuel industry and its massive oil drilling project in Alaska and how this particular project is at odds with our action on climate and our commitments and obligations. We need to be moving away from fossil fuel extraction and rapidly moving toward clean energy, and the Union of Concerned Scientists is right out there on point on this issue. And then last of all, going back to the polar vortex and understanding how that the effects on the polar vortex due to the warming of the oceans and the changes in the jet stream are an indicator for climate change. And so, yeah, so we're going back full circle. So just some issues that the climate scientists are raising through social media. And here at the OBX Wave Report, we amplify the messages of the scientists and the just on social media rather than the bad actors. And so that's what we're doing here today. We're going to amplify the messages of the Union of Concerned Scientists in social media. And then I'm also going to go now to the Union of Concerned Scientists website and talk a little bit more about the Union of Concerned Scientists. My experience with the Union of Concerned Scientists started off in the nuclear proliferation side. Their advocacy for removing the specter of nuclear war is an ideal that we should all share as human beings. We all fall under the threat of the umbrella of nuclear weapons. We are all under that existential sort of Damocles that hangs over us. Um, and yet there is also this tension between um, the need for defense and the need to remove that sort of Damocles. But the Union of Concerned Scientists is a fantastic voice on that issue. The Union of Concerned Scientists has come to the forefront of the climate issue, particularly on the issue of the need for mass deploying clean energy and dispelling disinformation on the issue of electric vehicles. Um, the Union of Concerned Scientists provides amazing tools on understanding scientifically the impact of clean energy. And so, if you're looking for an expert organization that provides great information on how much positive impact electric vehicles and wind and solar provide, the Union of Concerned Scientists is right there. Um, and they have all these various initiatives. They right now they're working on a team-based organization initiative to train leaders in advocacy to create change. Um, and they're also providing a lot of information on what we can do to affect climate change and to fight it back. And so they have a climate action button, which is really cool, um, on just providing you with information on working to act on climate. And I encourage you to learn from the Union of Concerned Scientists on the various actions you can take, such as urging Congress to investigate the fossil fuel giants, um, and and so we can click again to see what else we can do. We can ask our representatives to co-sponsor a bill on climate resilience. If we want to challenge ourselves, we can show up for racial justice. If we want a little bit something a little easier, we can donate some money, and we're going to do that today. And it's really cool because you can just go on and on for all the little things that you can do to help raise awareness and help be part of climate action. Um, and and so and that's pretty cool. I like action-focused organizations. One of the key issues that I've been working on in my life is transforming myself to like a zero carbon. And the Union of Concerned Scientists provides all these tools to like quantify like how that can happen. Like for example, if you use electric vehicle, how much less carbon emission do you produce? All right. And I want to go in on and provide you guys with some information on what more about what the Union of Concerned Scientists does. And it's very succinct through their website. They use science to address global problems and improve people's lives. And their mission is to use rigorous independent science to solve our planet's most pressing problems. Joining with people across the country, we combine technical analysis and effective advocacy to create innovative, practical solutions for a healthy, safe, and sustainable future. So if you're supporting the Union of Concerned Scientists, you're supporting an organization that is really, really out there fighting for our future, which is like right there in the center of gravity in our Friday for Future focus. And the main issues right now that they're working on is they combat climate change and seek to alleviate harm caused by the heat, sea level rise, and other consequences of runaway emissions driven by fossil fuel burning. They strive to develop sustainable ways to feed, power, and transport ourselves. Um, if we get too far into climate crisis, food becomes an issue. Um, and so big part of sustainability is climate action on the food front. And then, power and transportation are also interrelated for sustainability as well. They work to reduce the existential threat of nuclear war, and we touched on that earlier, and that's a major issue. We fight when powerful corporations or special interests mislead the public on science, and that is a main big problem today. And I find that lately the disinformation from special interests and powerful corporations have become the buzzword. I've been using oligarch as the term. An oligarch is a powerful person, or I guess you could have an oligarchic entity that exerts outside influence that um, the connotation is that it can be harmful. And lately, you have these dictatorial, authoritarian, sympathetic, hate-fueled oligarchs that are providing a lot of misleading information, from climate change denial to attacking climate activists, to attacking democracy activists, to promoting harmful non-solutions or distractions with regards to the climate crisis. And oftentimes, these acts are self-serving, short-sighted, and harmful. And so the Union of Concerned Scientists is a bastion against that. And I see them also as pro-democracy in their effort here, because confronting oligarchic entities expands the power of we the people, and brings down the power of bad actors, and that's key. It's one of the key reasons why I support the Union of Concerned Scientists. And then last of all, ensuring our solutions advance racial and economic equity. I'm going to go a step further here and say that because of this, because the Union of Concerned Scientists promotes policy solutions that advance racial and economic equity, that they are an anti-hate organization that promotes a process that um, removes hate in our system. It's not just speaking out for a moral good, which is a good thing, but it's also institutionalizing the good. It's it's building the structures of justice and love and sharing and equality and acceptance and plurality that make a government of we the people thrive. And so it's bridging that gap between knowledge and morality and action. And that's kind of what the Union of Concerned Scientists just does, from climate change to nuclear proliferation to racial and economic justice. It's science. It's the science of justice. It's the how to. It's the facts-based processing of the method to get to the end that those who thirst for justice, freedom, and peace also fervently desire. And so right now, at the end of this video, I am going to make a donation to the Union of Concerned Scientists. The Union of Concerned Scientists right now has this big drive for donations, so I encourage you to do what you can as well to throw your weight and your resources behind this wonderful organization that speaks truth to power and then also provides us with some powerful methods to build a better future for all. So thank you for joining me for this special Friday for Future edition of the OBX Wave Report. Big shout out to Greta Thunberg and the climate activists and all the activists for justice out there, be it from climate to racial justice to pro-democracy to making our world a safer place for ourselves and for our children. So thank you for joining me again. And I will be back with you from the beach with some wave report.